A very good afternoon to all of you and welcome to a delayed start to our sunset safari. We do apologize, but you are now live and on a safari throughout the wilderness areas of Africa. Now, just a quick introduction for those of you that are new to these live safaris. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon it is a pleasure for those of you who missed the sunrise safari to announce that Archie is on camera with me, having joined our staff as a permanent cameraman. So very warm welcome to Archie. I'm sure you'll all be as welcoming and kind as you always are. We're live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. It is the rainy season, which means, well, it rains quite a bit. But because this is a live safari, you can send through your questions and comments on #SafariLive on Twitter. We do sincerely apologize. We're having tremendous problem with our internet at the moment, hence why the start is late. But we're out, we're about, and we're avoiding that. It's well on its way towards us, I have to say. It's covered the ridge already. It is moving at great speed. I think it was a storm like that I got stuck in on the other side of that ridge with Malika's boys, the two young cheetah brothers who were playing in the storm water afterwards. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think it's probably my best cheetah sighting ever. I was just telling Archie about it now, hence why it's fresh on my mind. So, this morning I went off in search of the female cheetah with the cubs. I didn't have any success, unfortunately. I did find two male cheetah, but right on the border of Tanzania. The two border boys. So we won't be going there this afternoon, not with this weather on its way. I think we're going to stick around close to home. Everything's a little soggy, a little muddy, but that's okay. This morning we also found a brand new little baby giraffe, probably born the night before, I think. It was utterly beguiling. It was too sweet for words. But I think that today we're gonna stick around here. I heard, without giving any description of area, I heard that this morning one of the guides found 7 different black rhino. I'm hoping perhaps we might have luck with at least one of them. A little bit further on, or a little bit later, we will be joined by our crew in South Africa. However, until then, it's not just myself nattering on at you. There is someone else who'd like to say good afternoon. Brent is out. Let's head over to him.
Well, hello, and welcome to a lovely afternoon here in the Masai Mara. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Jahawi on camera, and you're on your very own privately guided live African safari. Now, as with all safaris, you want to ask your guide questions. So if you want to ask me any questions, you can do that by using the #SafariLive on whatever platform you might be watching on. Now, Jamie is working around to the north of us. I'm having a quick squiz for some lions in this area. They tend to like to hang around these little forested patches. And we've spent quite a lot of time with this particular pride. It's the little sausage pride, not the big sausage pride. So my aim is to look for sausages and both sausages this afternoon. If we don't get any luck with the little sausages, we'll head down a little bit further south and east towards where the big sausages live. Now, of course, always a chance we might get leopard in this area as well as a cheetah. But there's some storms to the northwest of us. So far, it looks like we might be able to sneak around the peripheries. One can always hope. There we go. Top of the tree there, Jar. That one there. We have got some mayor's parrots, or sometimes also called a little bit to the right. There we go, or brown parrots, squawking about. Now, a lot of the Diospyruses are fruiting at the moment, and it's attracting lots and lots of parrots to them. At the moment, these guys are not feeding, they're just having a little conversation, probably about where to go next. So they live in small flocks. You can hear them, they're quite noisy, a very typical parrot-like sound. I've got quite a big distribution. Whoa, off they go. They occur all the way from the northern Kruger National Park and the Limpopo Valley in South Africa, all the way through most parts of Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, and into Kenya, Uganda, and even up into Ethiopia. So a very big distribution. Bill's wondering how many different types of parrots do we get in Africa. Oh, I used to know the answer to this, but we'll quickly run through them, Bill. We have the Mayor's parrot, which we've just seen. We have an African orange-bellied parrot, 2 African grey parrot, 3 Cape parrot, 4 grey parrot, grey-headed parrot, 5. I'm trying to think. I know there's quite a few more. There's a Niam parrot up from Senegal. That's 7. I didn't bring my big bird book with me, which has got all of them. I think in total there's about 10 or 11 parrot species indigenous to Africa. And there's 1 parakeet species, but it's not indigenous, rosy-ringed parakeet. Now, there's quite a stable population of them in some urban areas, but those are of escaped pets. So Johannesburg, Durban, Nairobi, Naivasha all have a feral population of rosy-ringed parakeets. Species in just hang on. There we go. I'll double check on that for you. Now, we are getting a little bit of picture breakup and black screen. Apologies, but we are bringing to you this live from the middle of the African bush, and sometimes we do have a few little technical difficulties. But our incredible tech team is on it and have seemed to have sorted it. So while I run away from the big storm that's coming, let's go see what birds Jamie's found just to the north of us.
Guinea fowl. I was going to run away from the storm as well, but Brent stole my idea. He didn't steal my idea, but we can't both go that way. I suppose we could, but the storm's here already. We found guinea fowl in their alarm calling, and you'll notice that I'm speaking quite softly. Just listen. You'll be able to hear them? No, that's uncanny. As soon as I say that, the animals stop making a noise. It's like some kind of magic power I have over them. As soon as I say listen, they stop. It's ridiculous. Els, after all of this, the reason I wanted to stop and I wanted to actually have a look at this, or stop in this position, is they were alarm calling. And the fact that they're up in a tree would suggest potential cat predator somewhere around here. I don't see an eagle. I don't know what it was that they saw or what frightened them. There's a couple of relaxed looking giraffe, although they are staring in our direction. Let's go forward a little bit, Archie, and just see if we can see what's caused their distress. But now they've stopped alarm calling. It's because I said let's listen to them, I'm convinced. And then we're going to have to put our covers down. It's coming! It's here! We're already getting drenched. What did you see, guinea fowl? Or are you just alarm calling at the storm, which I concede is quite alarming? I don't see anything. Do I? I wish I could just go and quickly look in that lugger, but I can't. Something smells. Something smells like lion scat. Mia, on average, the Mara will get over 1,000 mils of rain annually. So that's quite a fair amount. Okay, we're going to have to cover up, Els. We really do. Right now. Like right now. Oh, here it comes. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Sitting with my comms in. There's nothing here that I can see. Hopefully there's no lions, because we're going to have to get out to cover up. Okay. We're going to jump out, we're going to cover up our vehicle, we'll be back with you shortly, but while we do that, off you go to Brent.
Welcome back, everyone, and we are trying to race away from that storm. It sounds like Jamie's already got caught in the rain and is having to put her rain covers down. So what I'm going to try to do, hang on, what do we got there? There's vultures, I think there's lions on a kill. I think I just saw a lion disappear into the grass. Or it was a hyena, but there's something afoot. Now, we've got to be quite careful in this area, especially after the rain. Is that a hyena? It's a hyena. And vultures. I wonder what's going on there. Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to go have a closer look. Now, it's quite possible the lions might have made a kill here, and the hyena and the vultures are feeding off the scraps. Okay. Tom is wondering, what is the highest concentration of animals in the triangle? Tom, well, it depends. Probably in pure numbers, it'll be Topi in the triangle. Okay, let's go have a look what's going on here. Now, of course, I might have been unfair towards the hyenas, and they might have made this kill all by themselves without stealing it from the lions. But the fact is that the Little Sausage Pride isn't the biggest pride, and they're right on the border between two quite big clans of hyenas. As I said, you've got to be quite careful in this area. It can be very sticky, and there's some big holes about. Okay, oh, there's another hyena in the grass here. Now, what could also have happened is there might actually be a dead hippo in the water, and that's what's brought all these animals here. I think that's quite possible. Oh, look at that, swimming hyena and dead hippo. Oh, smelly. Stop panicking, Howard. Yes, it's okay. It's not, it's a dead buffalo. I thought it was a hyena, but it's a hippo, but it is a dead buffalo. And you can just see the horn out there. This is where vultures have a slide. Oh, this is going to be funny. He's going to fall in. Is he going to fall in? Come on, hyena, you can do it. Leap onto the rotting carcass. Now, of course, it's impossible to say how this buffalo expired, but it has been expired for a while, judging from the smell. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 hyenas around. Let's go see. Is the temptation of putrid flesh too much for that little one? Is it going to take the plunge? Oh, I could hear it complaining. Goldie is wondering, are these hyenas all from the same clan? Yes, they are. Oh, there we go. I do like hyenas. Goldie, yes, they are from the same clan. If it was a different clan, they would actually try and murder each other. Okay, I think we're going to have to do the same as Jamie when she's done. I'm just going to move forward a bit for you, Gia. There we go. So try and get out back to the wind a bit. So I'm just going to go and how long do you think we got? We got a little bit. We got a little bit before we have to put our rain covers down. Okay, well, we're going to sit here with the swimming hyenas, but we are going to drop our covers, and so while we do that, let's go back to Jamie and the giraffe. Just drop the one side.
Filming through the window for the duration of the storm. Unfortunately, when the storm hits properly, we'll have to close up both windows and just sit and hope and enjoy the sheer joy of being in the tent car again. So we've got a male here and a young male on the right by the looks of things. So there's a fully grown male. It's a nice example of how you can actually tell the difference between a male and a female, or more tricky, tell the difference between a young male and a female. So let's have a closer look at the one on the right. And if we can, have a look at its ossicones. Let's ignore the obvious part. Now, when you look at ossicones like that, you think immediately female giraffe. And you could be forgiven for thinking that, because of course they have tufts of hair on the top of them. Oh, shame, this wind is making them nervous as well. They've got tufts of... Females tend to have tufts of hair, whereas the males have baldish ossicones. They don't have as much black hair. But a young male, there you go, you can just see the bald patches developing at the top. A young male actually has a great deal more hair around the top. There you go, that's an example of a fully mature male. Very well developed ossicones, and at the same time, at the top of his head, a very well developed bump between his eyes. Oh, in a young male, it's harder to see that because those features haven't fully developed yet. He hasn't reached maturity. Difficult to spot. One big defining feature will just be the eye. Let's just give this giraffe a name. The let's just watch this process. There's going to Presley. Oh, it's quite a mouthful. Okay, there we go. Let's see if one comes back up again. There we go. Did you see that? Moving up his neck. Oh, look, he even winked at us, as if to say, yep, that's what I was about to do. So he's ruminating. Mary, you say gorgeous. He is gorgeous, isn't he? He's quite lovely. Now imagine, we always talk about rumination and the fact that the animals bring up this sort of bolus of grass, or in the giraffe's case, leaves, back into their mouths and re-chew it. But it's fascinating to watch it move along the neck, particularly when in the case of the giraffe, you've got to have this reverse peristalsis motion so that it can travel all the way up a 2-meter long neck. So let's see if we can... Oh, no, he's going to turn away from us. Now he's got shy. He's got shy. Don't go away. I was going to say, let's see if we can watch the process unfold. But he doesn't seem to... He doesn't seem to want to do that. Now, I'm pretty sure I know where Brent is in terms of that dead buffalo, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's go back across and see how much of that buffalo the hyenas have consumed.
Well, this hyena is trying to get out of the water and is not doing a very good job of it. It's tried to climb out in a couple of different spots. Oh, there we go. Success. At last. Gremlins that have been besetting us here in the Mara for the last little while, but it seems like we're back and we're still with this incredible scene playing out in this lugger. We've got some more hyenas that arrived. They don't look too excited to jump into the cold water. Oh, look at that. Kaylin says, I just love the hyena falling in the water. Well, Kaylin, I'm hoping we're going to get a bit more of it. I want a bit more of a spectacular leap and sort of give them points out of 10 for their jump into the putrid water. Our vultures are having the best time of it. There we go, being chased again. The bonus of flight, enabling them not to have to swim to get to the meal. Here we go. Is the little one going to be the first to make the leap? Really exciting, chasing each other about. This afternoon. There are a huge amounts of very large storms around, but one of the hyenas took the plunge and has now decided, after a big chunk of rotting buffalo, that it's probably nicer outside of the water. So again, they keep falling in and now trying to find the way out. Here we go. Comes around. Oh, swimming hyena. That looks like a much more sensible place to get out of the water. But there's still two hyenas who haven't made the plunge yet, that are scuttling about on the edge. Oh, here we go. Up. Billy is wondering, would the flesh in on a carcass rot quicker out of water or in water? I'd say it all depends on the climate around. So normally I would say out of water in hot parts of the Africa, like for Djuma example. But in cooler parts, it'll probably rot slower in the water. And in hotter parts for that matter. Sorry, I wasn't making much sense there. It's so incredible watching these vultures. Oh, look. It's still... Now, Joy's wondering, would the lions ever try to get in on this? Joy, it is a possibility, but it all depends on how hungry they are. If they're hungry enough, they definitely would try get on it. But if they're not, they'd probably choose not to eat this difficult carcass. Now, you might find lions might go into the water there to pull the carcass to the side. I have seen them do that before. And let's see if this hyena possibly does that. Push it. Oh. Stay away, vultures. Have we got a problem-solving hyena, or is it greed and food going to get the better of it before it manages to push it into the shallow water? Hello, Francis in Israel. Francis says they must be really, really hungry to be doing this. Not at all, Francis. A hyena is the ultimate opportunist, and they have no problem eating absolutely putrefying rotten meat, and their stomachs are able to handle it, and this is a lovely, easy, free meal for them. They're also quite big fans of water, so it's a double bonus for them. Dave is wondering, are the vultures safe from the hyenas? Dave, the hyenas will chase the vultures, but it's very, very seldom they actually ever catch one. See? Come on. Can't eat and balance on a carcass at the same time. You can see the rain is starting to fall a little bit where we are. You'd think the hyenas would push it towards shallower water and then make it much easier for them to feed on it. Well, apparently a lot of people are saying yuck, yuck, yuck. Well, I think I might go for a swim in there just now. No, of course, I'm only joking. That water is very, very smelly. Now, that little one, is it finally going to make the plunge? Kathy is wondering, are hyenas strong enough to pull it completely out of the water? They are, Kathy. Most definitely, maybe not yet, but maybe once it breaks up a little bit. But they could definitely, with the buoyancy of the carcass, sort of push it towards the shallower side. There we go. See, it's a floating buffalo. One else. You can see it's slightly bigger than the other vultures, and it's got that pale beak. Dave is wondering, am I sure the buffalo wasn't struck by lightning? I'm not, Dave, but I don't know how the buffalo died. I spotted the vultures and hyenas from a distance and came in here. So we are starting to get a bit of rain, so I'm just lifting up the windscreen. We have closed up the one side of our vehicle, but it looks like we might get engulfed from both sides by storms. Oh, next vulture crash. Oh dear. And out again. Now is the little hyena going to chase it for good measure? Why not? Emma says, I'm gagging just at the thought of the smell. Well, yes, it's not the best smell I've ever smelt, Emma, I won't lie to you. But if you're a hyena or a vulture, it's an absolutely delicious smell. It's as good as a 3-star Michelin restaurant. Giraffe Centric says, do I think the buffalo might have fallen in while trying to get a drink? I don't. There's a lot of areas on this side of the little river that the buffalo could have very easily walked up to, like along here, and no problem at all. Oh, vulture, what are you doing? There's some more vultures just landing, so there could be a bit of competition. There's a nice one coming in now, Jar. There we go. Boom, landing gear out. Duk, 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 duk. And there's the little hyena, frustrated because it hasn't tried to take the leap for some rotting buffalo, so it keeps chasing the vultures around. Now, the hyena den's not too far from here, and that's a little, or a sub-adult, probably just under a year or so old. Ladybird would like to know, is that a mini waterfall? Well, a waterfall might be a strong word. I'd say a drop, possibly, yes, in the little lugger. Okay, so I think we're going to say goodbye to... Oh, wait. All our friends who've joined us for this action broadcast, and we're going to say goodbye. I'm going to sit here for a bit longer, see what else gets going, see if more hyenas arrive. So you never know when we could go live. So from myself and Jahawi, it's been great. Hopefully we'll see you a bit soon. You never know, we might find lions hunting 5 minutes down the road. But toodaloo for now.
And back with me. So, I sounds like Brent has been having the most amazing time with his hyenas. It really, really does. I've given up on trying to predict which way the storms blow in this place. I could have sworn that storm was coming straight at us, but it's blown away and it's actually headed more in Brent's direction and left us with almost patches of blue sky. So I put one side up, left one side down, in the hope that, oh goodness, sorry, Arch, in the hope that somehow that's covering both of our bases. And if the storm hits, then we can cover up quickly. I don't know, I give up. I can't see when the covers are down. I can't keep dry when the covers are up. No sign of the Angamas. I've been searching for them while you've been with Brent. I've been looking in all of their favorite places and I just can't find them. Oh, this road's a mess. Ooh, rainy mess. Wait a minute. This isn't the road I want to be on. Is it? Is it? It is the road I want to be on. That's a really very good question from possibly Tony, possibly somebody else. I couldn't really hear Alice there, but it's a very good question about Tony. It was Tony. Why it is the animals migrate out of the Mara when it's so green at this time of year. And that is a really very good question. And the answer is because it's even better, essentially, it's even better where they migrate to. So they've done away with most of the grasses in this area, and they go across, and it's nature's way of ensuring that a place doesn't get overutilized. So it's not, remember, not every animal migrates. It's just the million plus wildebeest and a good couple of 100,000 zebra. But not all of them migrate, so a lot of them stay here. Oh goodness, sorry Arch. A lot of them stay in this area. So it's still being utilized, but it's nature's way of ensuring it's not overutilized, because there were places in the Mara, when the wildebeest came through in the numbers that they did, it looked like a fire had been through. And if they stayed in those massive numbers, it would have done eventually quite serious damage to the grass. But grasses are meant to be grazed, but not too much. So they go back where there's good quality grasses to the south, back into Tanzania, and then they give birth. Ladybird says the grass is always greener on the other side. That is essentially how it works. So they basically bounce backwards and forwards. To oversimplify a considerable amount, they basically bounce backwards and forwards. They eat all the grass and then they come somewhere else and then they do it again. Essentially. Right, as we continue on our search for the lions, as I said, I think Brent is having the most amazing time with his hyenas. Let's go back across them and see if they are enjoying a floating dining room.
Well, a floating dining room indeed. The problem for this little hyena, the one who's sort of been umming and ahhing about getting in, is it's not quite as tall as the others. So it can't put its back legs on the ground while feeding. And the floating dining room tends to move from time to time. And especially when the vultures land on it, it sends the hyena sort of plummeting under the water. And he's very upset when that happens. And it is enjoying it immensely at the moment. The others have just flopped down in the grass around here, and they'll possibly feed off this carcass for a couple of days. Oh, there we go. Another one has appeared. Oh, a vulture climbing up. Dimitri's wondering, are hyenas still considered to have the strongest bite in the animal kingdom? Not in the animal kingdom, but in the mammalian. Oh, there we go. Oh. Shame. It looks thoroughly miserable when it's swimming around. But in the mammalian kingdom, yes, they have the strongest bite force of about 900 pounds. Oh, there we go. See, the vultures spun it around and the poor hyena's struggling. Oh dear. Come on, climb back on. Get onto that rotten, smelly buffalo. Oh dear, oh, slipping again. And the vulture has now got itself in a prime position. This is hilarious. There we go. Safely on, for now, the floating carcass. And it's starting to rain a bit harder now. Kestrel fox bobbing for bovine. Oh dear. Oh, you nearly went over again. Now what we really need is another hyena to join in the fun. And from the opposite side, and see you can sort of balance the buffalo best. Vulture, stop moving the carcass. Let's see how long it takes for the... Candy says hyenas look adorable when wet. And let's see how long it takes for the vultures to join again. Oh, next hyena looks like it's going to take the plunge. Making funny noises before it does. Ooh, ooh, cold. Looking for a more sensible way to approach the water's edge. No. Whoa. Jessica is wondering, do vultures also eat everything, even the bones? Jessica, the vultures are unable to break bones with their beak. Well, this is the first hyena who's used the easy way in. Still doesn't look too excited about going any further just yet. First, it's going to add some urine to the mix of rotting buffalo that is in the water at the moment. Maybe it's trying to warm it up a tad before going deeper. It really looks like someone who doesn't like the cold, who's trying to ease their way into a cold swimming pool. Dave says, go on, little man. Dave, I'm not sure whether it's a little man or a little girl, but I'm sure there is a little drop-off at some point, because I've seen adult hyenas go underwater here a little bit further forward. There we go, slowly. I think it's going to be very funny when it finds that deeper hole. Giraffe Centric says this is so interesting and so funny at the same time. It is a fascinating sighting, and it is always wonderful to see stuff you don't see every day. Savor says that poor hyena is probably thinking water equals crocodiles. Well, these Mara hyenas spend a lot of time in water. Oh, there we go. Oh, deeper. Uh-oh. Are you going to try scuttle for the side now? Oh. Oh. Oh, he just got a little bit of floating meat that's come off the buffalo without having to go all the way into the deep water. Uh-oh. Is he going to keep moving? James is wondering, would jackal do the same thing? I don't think so, James. Jackal probably wouldn't go this deep into the water. They might feed off it if it's right on the edge, but not plunging like that. There we go. Swim, swim, swim. Now, let's see if two hyenas could, feed on a floating buffalo, or are they going to upend each other? Oh, complaining at the one that's just arrived. Now we just need the third one up top to just bomb drop onto the buffalo. Oh, there we go. Upset the apple cart. Deciding, no, this is not fun. I'm out of here. Hi, Lily. He's 6 years old. Nice to have you with us today, Lily. Lily says they should just eat the birds and they wouldn't get so wet. Yes, I agree, Lily, but unfortunately for them, the birds are quite quick and always just manage to keep out of their way. And, they don't have to, if this one is fighting to go try get to the buffalo, but normally with that buffalo carcass it's much easier. The meat's nice and rotten, so it's soft, so they don't have to chew too much, whereas I think a vulture also probably doesn't taste quite as nice as a buffalo. Are we going to get another leap? Come on, you can do it. Jump! Jump! Hello, Joy, who's in Hong Kong, and Joy's wondering why there are so few hyenas. Joy, the rest of them are actually quite close by. They're just having a nap. They've probably been feeding on this carcass all day, and there's quite a few adults. These are all sort of sub-adults, but the rest of them are lying in the long grass around here. So there are probably close on 10. There we go, chase the vulture away. Climb back onto your buffalo. There we go. There's probably 10, 12 hyenas around here. So there are quite a few hyenas. We just can't see all of them at the moment because they're in the long grass. The brown fox is wondering how fast are hyenas in comparison to vultures. We're getting a bit of drippity here. The vultures are quite quick and they can take off quite quickly, and that's obviously a development from being able to avoid predators around carcasses, but more specifically for lions. But for hyenas, there's no real reason for them to really attack and kill a vulture, just to try keep them away from the carcass. I'm just going to move the car slightly just to change the drip so it's not dripping in. Sorry, I'm just going to move a little bit. We'll be back with those hyenas in a second. Just trying to stop the rain dripping in on me and, more importantly, on some of our electronic equipment. There we go. EP is wondering, would this watering hole have a leech? I don't know, and I don't plan to find out anytime soon either. But it is possible. I know there are leeches in Lake Victoria, which is not too far from here. I'm sure there are leeches in the Mara River as well. But you got lots of different types of leeches, and in this part of Africa, as far as I'm aware, most of the leeches are the small, very small, sort of half a centimetre or so in size, and they don't take too much blood. But I have had big leeches on me in the Central African rainforests before. And it seems to have found the right sort of spot to be able to balance and eat at the same time without falling over for now. Helen wants to know if there's any health risk to the hyenas for eating a buffalo in that state of decay and in the water. No. Hyenas will eat stuff that's far more rotten than that. They are evolved to do that. This is their ecological niche. So, no, they are quite happy eating stuff that's even worse than that. And so are vultures, so are lions, so are leopard. They're all able to eat completely putrid meat. Gangreney, smelly, literally green slime meat that sort of just disappears. They can all eat that. But good news, while our hyena continues to munch upon this decaying buffalo, let's go across to Jamie, who's got some kitty cats.
I found one kitty cat, but it's quite a big kitty cat, so it comes as a tremendous relief. Now that the storm has blown away, we've come across towards the, how do I describe this, the lugger that runs between the Little Governor's Entrance and Ulololo Gate, or at least towards, oh, listen, 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 she's calling. And listening. Tatty Ears, one of the marsh breakaway lionesses. She stopped calling for now. She's calling for the rest of her pride. I know this lioness. One of the 3 marsh breakaway lionesses. So this is the pride that we regularly see around here. They've got some gorgeous cubs. Although I don't see any sign of the rest of them. When I first arrived, she was looking across at a herd of buffalo. I'm not sure how hungry she is. Is it odd? I don't know if it's because we're not often here, so we don't watch them enough. We don't observe them enough. It is an area where we can't off-road, so we can't often get, well, a lot of the time we can't get close to them. But this is the 3rd time I've found one lioness all by herself and calling for the rest of the pride in this exact spot, almost within a couple of meters or 50 meters radius. Why does that always happen? Unless there's one lioness that keeps coming into heat or estrus because she doesn't have cubs. Because that would sort of explain it. If she keeps getting separated while she's mating and then she's trying to find them again, because not all of the 3 lionesses have cubs, so maybe that's why. But I don't know. I'm not certain on that. That's speculation. Pure and simple. Maggie, you want to know if lionesses are ever solitary? Yes, occasionally. Almost in fact, invariably, under some kind of tragic circumstance. So what I mean by that is the rest of their pride has been killed, or they've tried to get away with cubs and from a male takeover, and then the cubs have died and they haven't managed to regroup with their pride. They are not naturally solitary beings. A natural unit of lions is a pride. They don't like to spend time on their own. They don't like to be solitary. And you'll see it even when a lioness is mating with a male, to be honest. In the times that I've seen them, although they accept it with a sort of calm resolution, they do still want to be with the rest of the pride. And you'll watch the male blocks the female all the time while she's trying to rejoin the rest. So their natural state is social. So to see a lioness on their own, it's usually quite a tragic situation. And occasionally, you get stories of lone lionesses. Sorry, there's so many fluttering termite alates that keep trying to fly into my face. Occasionally you hear tales of lionesses on their own because the rest of their pride has been killed by people, which is utterly tragic. For whatever reason, whether it's through poison or they've been hunted, killed as retribution for damage to livestock. Now that's not something that we'd encounter here. I can safely tell you that this lioness is not on her own. She is at the moment, but the rest of her pride will be around, possibly further up the lugger. You know, she's calling to them, but she's not really making a huge effort yet. She will tonight, I imagine, when it comes time to reunite. But I think we're going to sit with her until we've summed up the situation properly. I don't see any other vehicles, so it doesn't look like anybody else has found the rest of the pride. And I can guarantee there'd be vehicles because there'd be cubs there, so people would be around. Hey, pretty girl. You are lovely. Looking, listening, the three males, or three of the Kichwa males, are somewhere around this region. I know this because I was told so. That's actually why I came in this direction, was to try and find them. Let's try and get a bit around towards the front of her head. The front of her head. That didn't make any sense. Let's just get a better angle is what I was going for. Perhaps she'll call softly for us again. And if we're really lucky, we might even see the reunion. Don't know why she's on her own, though. Oh, sitting right on the edge of a bank. Let me just do a... Bear with me, I'm just going to go ahead and then turn around and come face the other way. Do a quick check, make sure there's no lions here. Dave, she looks like an older lioness. Oh, she's calling. She looks like an older lioness to me. Let's have a look at her teeth. Such a stunning, awe-inspiring sound. Now she's going to listen for them to call back. The last time this happened, the other lionesses listened, but they never actually responded. How beautiful was that? Francis from Israel, you say it sounds like she's in pain. I don't think she is. I think she's absolutely fine. I really do. It's just the way that she's calling. Now she's listening very, very intently for the sound of a response. I said she was an older lioness, but now that I look at her teeth, I've changed my mind. I don't think she is that old. Tatty ears are often a sign that they are, or that an animal is a bit older. but not always. She's got quite a dark nose, but she's also got very, very intact teeth, and they don't look overly yellow. I'll find out for you. It shouldn't take me too long to find out. I can research that pretty quickly, now that I know which pride she belongs to. Oh, Alice, I'm so sorry. I'm struggling to hear you. What was that name? Gus, apologies. Now, Gus says, how far can lions call for each other? They can call, their calls will cover a distance of potentially, it depends on the temperature and the ambient conditions and where they are in terms of the layout of the land. Obviously, if they're in a dip, then their call is not going to travel as far because the sound is absorbed by the land around them. But you're looking at, on average, between 5 and 10 kilometers, possibly even more. Remember that their hearing is so much more sensitive than ours. A lion's roar at its loudest, something I learned from our viewers, is 114 decibels. Now, she might just call again. She's still listening intently. There's no sign or any sort of noise around her. There's no calling in response. Lots and lots of buffalo around, but they're not too bothered. They know that she's there. They've seen her. So you'll have seen them around behind her. Just listening. Although I think she's going to... L8! Termite L8s everywhere. I think she might just call again, so let's just sit patiently with her for a second. I've always seen this lioness on her own. Well, almost always. I wish I could remember which one of the three she is. Okay, I'm going to rack my brains because I know this lioness. I know her well. I know she's part of the Marsh Breakaways. I'm just trying to remember which individual she is. So while I figure that one out, let's head across to Brent and find out if his afternoon is continuing in the same vein in which it began.
Well, it is. We're still playing, well, not so much patience, we're just enjoying, because there's another hyena that's just arrived that looks very interested in jumping into the water. But again, it's sort of that hesitant, oh, should I do it? Shouldn't I? And it must be so tantalizing because the carcass is so close. Come on, you can do it. Jump. Jump into the cold water. So close yet so far. Now, the brown fox is asking, what is the difference between male and female hyena? Well, it's sometimes quite difficult to tell the difference between them, especially in a scenario like this. But, oh, we're sneaking. So because the female hyenas have pseudo-penises and pseudo-testes and very high androgen levels and can be bigger than the male hyenas, so it can be quite difficult to tell the difference between them. But other than that, the male has a real penis and real testicles, whereas a female has pseudo-testes and a pseudo-penis. The pseudo-penis is actually an enlarged clitoris, and they don't have a normal birthing canal like most female mammals. They actually give birth through that pseudo-penis. And it is also almost, well, every single one of their first litters, every female hyena has a litter of cubs. The first litter dies because that canal is quite small and quite tight, and they actually suffocate. And only normally the second litter of cubs that was born survive. Now, there could be some, apart from the fact that they need to open up that system so that the cubs can pass, there could be an evolutionary advantage that during that first litter, the female's maybe not old enough or experienced enough to care for cubs. So then once she has her second litter, she's probably in a better position to be able to raise those cubs successfully. But generally, the biggest difference you can tell with the hyenas is their behavior. The females are rampantly more dominant over the males and will often beat them up. So your lowest ranking female hyena is still higher ranking than the highest ranked male in the clan. Ladybird is wondering, does a wet hyena smell worse than a wet dog? Indeed it does, much worse. Well, unless your dog has been eating rotting meat. Now, strangely enough, I have smelt a dog that's been eating rotting meat, and it smells quite vile. But definitely I'd say a wet hyena smells a lot worse. Now, what happens is that a lot of people who have their domestic dogs at home think that their dog would never do this, what this hyena is doing at the moment. And I won't mention any names, but there's quite a well-known lady who lives in a small town in northern Botswana where I grew up, and she was the only person there who had French poodles, white, immaculately groomed French poodles. And a donkey died in the Tamalakani River in front of her house. And with all the village dogs that were getting stuck in the water with this rotting donkey, there were two not-so-white French poodles after they'd been inside the stomach area of the donkey fighting the local village dogs off. So your domestic dog at home would do exactly the same as these hyenas, with just as much rotten, with the meat just as rotten. Oh, have we got a waterfall jumper? Are you going to jump off the waterfall? No. Now, I think we're probably going to move on from here now. See if we can find any lions or whatever else might be here. I might pop back in here a little bit later, see if there are more hyenas have arrived and there's more leaping off the waterfall or mini waterfalls into the putrid water that we know for sure is full of rotting buffalo and some hyena urine so far. But I'm sure there's probably quite a lot of vulture dung as well. Okay, so we're going to move off, and while we do that, we're going to send you back to Jamie, who seems to have figured out the mystery of that lioness.
Kinney. Her name is Kinney. It was driving me absolutely mental because I knew her. So it was within this pride, we've got Jicho, meaning I, Akili, and Kinney. Achilles the youngest. I haven't seen her in a while. I've seen Jicho a few times, but that is who we're looking at. So Kinney, I can find out her age for you, because quite a huge amount is actually known about the marsh pride, and of course therefore the marsh breakaway lionesses. Now she's got very, very, very distinctive ears, and that's how I recognize her. It was driving me absolutely crazy because I knew I'd seen her before. You see those notches, particularly out of her right ear. So if I had to guess, I'd put her somewhere around 7, 8 years old, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how old she is. If I remember correctly, Achille, I think, is her daughter. Or is it? No, I can't remember. There's so many different facts in lion prides that we have to try and remember that to keep them straight in our heads initially can be a confusing thing. But I know that she's from the Marsh Breakaway females. I know her name is Kini. As for where Chicho and Akili are, well, that's a different question. I've just been watching the cars investigate. Kimberly, you say good job for solving the mystery. Thank you. I should have actually solved it a long time ago. It was just one of those blank moments where I could remember seeing her, knowing exactly where I saw her, and it wasn't actually me who solved any kind of a mystery. I got that information from Stan Starr, who runs who's a very Mara enthusiast and actually runs one of the groups, the Facebook groups on the Big Cats of the Mara. He was the one who told me exactly which lioness this was. So, I mean, it's largely thanks to them that this was known about them. So I think I'm about to get into trouble for being 2 meters off the road. Let's find out. Give me 1 second. Jambo, habari? Hi. So, we have solved the mystery of the lioness. There we go. I'm not in trouble at all. I was actually turning round. I didn't mean to park here, but then she started roaring, and it sort of just kind of happened. So we've solved the mystery, but actually, technically, I don't claim any credit for that. And Sandy was the one who actually... What is that? Can you see it there, Arch? What on earth is that? Can you see it? No, sorry, not the car. Hold on. I'm gonna have to move us. What is that? It looks like a... Is it a pig? No, it can't be. What is that? There, sorry, over there. No, don't disappear, don't do this to me. There, it's running over there. Can you see it? Looks like a... Oh no, I've lost it. There it is. Can you see it? It's a dog. It's a dog. I'm just going to catch the rangers quickly. Sorry, Arch, you can come back? I've got a race to catch the rangers. They've just come past me. It's a dog. I knew it was a dog. Right, the immediate urgency with a situation like this is a dog's walked in from the communities. When a dog walks in from communities, it could just be lost. It could also be... It's going straight in there. It could also be disorientation from rabies. So there are no fences between the reserve and the park. Obviously you can see that dog, it's wandered in. I'm going to catch up with the rangers to tell them, because I've got to tell them immediately. Cannot have dogs wandering around in the Mara Triangle. Ah, come back. I've got phone numbers. I've got phone numbers to call. Oh, sorry, Arch, but that dog's going to disappear into the forest. It's not the first dog I've seen, but most of them were very close to the villages. Flashing my lights in the hope that it's going to attract their attention. Okay, guys, I'll be with you in a second. I just have to go and catch up with the rangers, and I want to tell them immediately and possibly help them find it again. So bear with me. I'm going to send you over to Brent so that I can have this conversation with them. Stop!
Hello, welcome back. Well, that's a little bit sad, but as we've explained in the past before, a domestic dog is a really big threat in a wildlife area. So a very good friend of ours, did his master's thesis on rabies, and one of the first signs of rabies, which only came out from his master's thesis, is confusion in domestic dogs. So basically, the further you find a dog away from its home, the more in a wildlife area. Basically, I think it's every 5 kilometers, the chance that it has rabies increases by 20%. So that's why Jamie is getting hold of the rangers quite quickly there. And of course, rabies is a very, very dangerous disease, especially in social animals like lions and hyenas, because they're so social that if one of them gets it, it can go through a whole population or a whole pride or a whole clan very quickly. So that's why it needs to be dealt with pronto. Now I know this spot. It doesn't look so bad, but it is. So it's quite deep. Well, whoopa, see what I mean? There we go. Okay, so while we meander on, we're going to switch across to the Djuma stream, which seems to be more stable and hopefully will help deal with Saal gremlins. So bear with us for a few minutes while Djuma start up their side. So toodles, we'll see you just now.
Everyone, welcome to South Africa, to the Sabi Sands, to Djuma. I am Noel, and on camera I have Seb. Hello, Seb.
Hello, everyone.
He says hello. So it is 26, which is 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and we have a little bit of a blue sky that was showing with a bit of clouds. Beautiful, puffy clouds. Lots of insect activity with all of this bit of overcast, but it's nice and warm. It's slightly humid from all the moisture that we've been having. And hopefully tomorrow, with a bit of sunshine, everything's going to be even more green than it already is. So Seb and I are busy going to go check the western side of our property. I'm not quite sure what I feel like seeing today. I'm kind of in the mood for wild dogs again. But while I'm busy trying to find something wonderful to show you, Ralph has already found something cheeky for you to see.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome on our afternoon game drive here on Djuma concession in the Sabi Sands of the Kruger National Park in South Africa. It's a lovely afternoon. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and please join us on Twitter, #Safari Live, and on the YouTube live chat. At the moment, we've just started out, and we've found some monkeys. They are feasting on the flying ants, as we call them. Even though they aren't ants, they're termites. All the alates have come out, and they are exiting their nests, and they're forming an amazing food source. So we're going to see all sorts of birds and monkeys coming to feed on them. And we just stopped here. We saw a whole host of monkeys. They literally sit right in front of the hole, and then they start to feed on the termites as they come out the hole. We also see a lot of the frogs and things like that, like lizards, etc. And they go right in front of the hole, and they start to feed on it. So we've been looking out for a couple of small little things like this, feeding on the termites. Lovely source of protein. Now, this afternoon's game drive, we're going to be looking for the big cats. The rain that we have had is going to have washed all their markings away. And so I'm pretty sure that a lot of the leopards are going to be out remarking their territories. And as Viam has just showed you there's still a little bit of a chance of rain. However, it is a nice 20 degrees, around 70 degrees Fahrenheit in that region. It is fluctuating as the clouds come and go, as the sun pokes through. But our aim for this afternoon's drive is to look for some of the predators moving around. around, but with this amazing food source coming out, there's also going to be all sorts of smaller things that we can stop and have a look at. So I'm going to start up and move on a little bit. These monkeys have moved off a little bit because of our presence. There are some impala up in front here, so we might. And then, as I say, we're going to get onto the track of these big cats. The Styx Pride and the Nkuhumas have been around, but they're up in the northern parts near Buffels Hook, so we're not too sure that we're going to catch up with them just yet. However, I think the leopards are going to be showing themselves quite early this afternoon, trying to re-establish those territories. So as we pull up here, I'm just going to switch off because we can see some of these lovely young impala up front. Nice little babies. We're seeing a whole host more of them at the moment. So please fire away your questions and your comments. And there's that little youngster. Look, he's still not so sure on his feet just yet, but everything seems to have enjoyed the overnight rain, and we've had a whole host of different insects and reptiles out. All the tortoises were out on the road this morning, and it's almost like the animals have come out of their holes after the rain, and everything's starting to show itself again. So it's a very exciting time to be out on this afternoon's game drive, because I think we're gonna find some amazing sightings. And those little babies, even though they're so young, they already start to have their little head butts. Right, let's move forward a little bit and let's see what these impala might show us. We did hear off onto the southern side. Viam's just said that he spotted these monkeys again. Let's have a look. Let's see. Those monkeys were feeding lovely on all the flying termites. Remember, they're going out now to start their new colonies, taking with them the spores from the mushrooms that they need to cultivate underneath the ground. So they're going to be going out and starting the new colonies. Look at those monkeys there. All after those termites. You know, we can also eat these termites. They taste very much like peanut butter and an extremely good source of protein. So with these monkeys having seen that they're now exiting their holes, they will also be after that. And something quite interesting that we often think about, if you watch monkeys, generally humans can eat almost everything that monkeys can eat. So if you see monkeys eating something, it's generally safe for humans to eat as well. They've got a very similar stomach acid to us. However, if you see baboons eating certain things, you must not mimic baboons, because they can eat things that we cannot. So it will turn your stomach inside out. They'll eat poisonous things that they'll be able to digest, but not us humans. So if you'd like to know what we can feed on, you mimic monkeys. They show us the way. Yes, everybody mentioning how cute this little monkey is. And as I say, he's going to be chasing all those alates, the primary reproductives. They'll be coming out the nest, and lovely food source, huh? He's just gone behind that bit of brush there. They're all chasing the alates. Donna, how do I know that termites taste like peanut butter? Well, because I've eaten quite a few of them. We've also sat like the monkeys. I do consider myself a bit of a monkey. We've also sat eating these termites as they come out. They're rather tasty. And some of the local people, what they actually do is they fry them up, and they actually taste quite nice. So if you ever at a loss for bar snacks or anything like that, and there's a lot of termites coming around, especially at night around the lights, you should have a try. They're not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to be carrying on looking out for all these little things and see what all the termites are going to attract. But I think Noel has something else with wings to show you.
I do have something to show you. I have a woodland kingfisher. There, you could just hear it there. But it was sitting so beautifully with the most gorgeous light on it. And of course, as birds do, it just flew away. But it's all right. There's two of them. There was a pair. And then there was a third one that came in and was busy trying to get into that little scenario there. And it didn't quite work out the way that any of them were hoping. So I can still hear them in the background. We're gonna maybe be able to get another visual. Right now I just want to check the western boundary and see if we have any tracks from those wild dogs coming in and out, because I haven't been on the property for I think about a week now, so we're about due to have some wild dogs. So I'm just gonna turn the vehicle around. And we will head up that way and cross fingers and hold thumbs that not only do we get tracks, but maybe they just want to come running down the road in our general direction and give us a bit of a show, which would be nice for everybody involved. Today's been slightly quiet. I know this morning we had some really great insect activity and a few little bookies in here and that. It seems as if everything big and hairy has gone to ground. It is Sunday, so you never know. Maybe they're off having a rest day. So when we check roads like what I'm doing now, basically for leopard, we're looking in these sort of little drainage systems. You just saw me go down, seeing if they're crossing over. Not that they always cross in the drainage systems, but it's a good place to start. And then for something like wild dog, look, they might cross straight over, but they generally like to come straight down a road as well. It also depends on what they're after and what their purpose is. If they're coming over for hunting, it could be a little bit different. Philippa, you're wondering what is the status of African wild dogs in the Kruger Park these days. So it's about the same as everywhere else in sub-Saharan Africa. They're highly endangered. The last numbers I had for the whole continent is about 3,500, probably just under. I believe the numbers for the Kruger Park area sit somewhere between 250 and 300. Sorry, this is a little bit of a bumpy patch. And so there's not many left, unfortunately. I do know that there's a concerted effort to do a lot more research on them. A friend of mine started something called Latest Sightings, and specifically Latest Sightings Kruger. And I know from chatting with him and chatting with some of the research guys, that has actually helped with the research in the Kruger National Park. Because before it was just one or two guys having to traverse 2 million hectares, so that's about 4.5 million acres. It's a huge property. You can fit Israel inside of Kruger National Park. It's ginormous. And now, because of this app that was created, when people add sightings onto there, it allows the wild dog researchers to gain more information. So I know that has helped quite a bit. Another thing that's kept the numbers down is the fact of just human encroachment. So the more humans push in towards wildlife areas, the more they bring things like dogs with them. And dogs bring with them canine distemper and rabies and direct interaction between predators is also an issue for numbers. Is it back? Sorry about that. Just lost a little bit of signal through that dip there. So I think in general the status is better than it has been. Oh my goodness, we have a diker. Are you going to stay in the road or no? He's just going to cross the road. Let's see if we can sneak up and maybe he'll stay put for us to get a nice visual. So in general, the status of wild dogs is better than it has been, but it's still not excellent. It is still something that we have to monitor and keep an eye out for. All right, so that's there. I can just see this little diker. Seb, let me know when you want me to stop. It's just here at our 11 o'clock. It's going to push up to our 10 o'clock just now. See there? Alright, don't move, Diker, stay where you are. They usually, small antelope like this, either want to freeze or they want to run away. Now, this little fellow here is being very nice to us and at least allowing us a little view of its behind before it runs away. So I say fellow has tiny little horns. The females don't have any. There, you can just see them there. And he is a browser, carrying on eating leaves with a very strict territory. Him and his mate, they mate for life, will hold on to their territory together. Sorry, he's just gone behind the little thickets there. And you can see how well his camouflage blends in. I know Ralph was discussing with you guys this morning, and we did a little bit with our Nyala, about the colors of antelopes and how they blend into their surroundings. Let me just see if I can back up a little bit and get another view. There we are. So the tawny color with a little bit of lighter color underneath. Oh, fantastic. Doing a little bit of scent marking there. The little preorbital gland, a little gland that's right under the eye. Something that looks similar to a Diker is a klipspringer. It's a little bit smaller, and they use that gland under the eye quite a lot. They stick sticks in it and put the gland secretions on the stick. It almost looks like tree sap when it hardens. But as you saw with that Diker, he went right up to the tree and then just sort of rubbed the scent there. And that's to make sure that no other males come into his little territory, or females possibly for that matter. Very, very quiet as he walks. They do similar. We were chatting this morning about Nyalas doing track-on-track walking, so putting one foot down and the next foot in the same spot, and Dikers will do that as well. Not 100% of the time, but a good portion of the time. Again, to minimize the sound they make in the bush. There, that's a beautiful view. I think that's probably the best view of a Diker I've had in a while. Thank you, Seb. He's looking a little bit thin for my liking, but I mean, look, it's difficult to get all the nutrition that you need in the dry season. It is a little bit of a push. Not that he's sick by any means, but a little bit, they're usually a little bit more round, a little bit more rotund. And it's interesting, I mean, we're looking at some leaves now. Not every leaf is edible. Joy, you're curious to know why he wouldn't want females in his territory? Because usually, Joy, with the territoriality, it's him and his female and his mate for life that are territorial together. And so that would be the reason. But that being said, I mean, let's say maybe his partner passes away. Then he wouldn't mind a female coming through. But I'm sure they have a little bit more of an advertisement for something, for a scenario that would work through that. But yeah, it's the territoriality is usually the pair together. These smaller antelope species tend to do mating for life. Klipspringer, Diker, Steenbok, Dik-Dik mate for life. It allows them to have their own little corner of the bush and to monitor this corner of the bush and to function within that little space quite well, as opposed to something that's larger like Impala or Nyala or Kudu that function within a sort of herd structure or a bachelor herd structure and roam a little bit farther because they're a larger group, not just the two. Okay, down our bumpy road we go. Ooh. So speaking of wild dogs and speaking of domesticated dogs that can affect wildlife, Jamie is up in the Mara and has seen a feral dog or possibly a rabid dog, depending, I'm not quite sure. Let's head up to her and see what update she has for us on that situation.
You're all desperate to know exactly what's happened. Let me try and explain the whole situation now that it wasn't such a rush. I really, really want to get to the rangers as quickly as possible because I know how difficult it's going to be to find this dog again. So chances are chances are it's just a dog that wandered in from one of the communities. There's a close village not far away from here. Obviously it's close. There's a village up at the top of the escarpment. There are dogs around, domestic dogs, some feral dogs, and they do potter about and do their own thing. It's very, very unusual to see them here because this entire place has got the most amazing ranger system to make sure that something like that doesn't happen. But of course, sometimes things slip through the cracks. As I said, chances are it's just a lost little dog. There is a possibility that, a small possibility, that it is a rabid dog. And because rabies causes disorientation, it's one of the early symptoms, and dogs don't tend to stray outside of their territory, so it's always a little bit of a warning sign when it's come wandering in. But it could also have had a fight with another male or something and come this way. So it was really quite essential, just on that small off chance, we notified the rangers. I caught them. Fortunately, they were as close as they were. They have immediately called for backup. They responded as quickly as possible. They immediately turned round, raced back in the direction where we'd seen the dog. Unfortunately, it's vanished, which I was worried about, but I had to make a call, and it was going into a forest where I wouldn't have been able to follow it anyway. So I'm helping them look for it, essentially. Hopefully we find it. Once we find it, then we'll gauge on its behavior exactly what the situation is, and it'll probably, most likely, get transported back towards the village, and no harm will come to it. That is provided it's not showing any signs of rabies. A rabies outbreak would have an absolutely devastating effect on the animals out here, and that is something that is definitely to be avoided. I can hear your name. I think it was Callan, possibly Helen. I apologize, I can't fully hear Kirsty, but you want to know how rabies kills? Sorry, Kirst. I think you asked how rabies kills. It skyrockets the animal's temperature. It infects the brain, the lining of the membranes of the brain, and ultimately results in all sorts of catastrophic events within the animal itself. So you'll get the symptoms of excessive salivating, hydrophobia in most cases, and then massive organ failure from an incredibly high temperature, and dehydration. Dehydration will also play an enormous role because, as I said, the animal's hydrophobic. It doesn't like water, it's afraid of water. Now, I'm just going to focus quite hard while there's still a little bit of light on trying to help them find this dog. Let's send you back across to Ralph. I couldn't hear what he has, but that makes it even more of a surprise.
Right, folks, I did say we were looking for the big cats and in particular leopards, but we did find something quite similar in name in a couple of leopard tortoises. Now, the one in the front here is feeding, and the other one is quite interested in it. Now, I'm not sure if it's a male at the back who's quite interested in the female in the front, or if it's a male chasing a male, which they can also do. But quite interesting there, if the one on the back, Viam, if you can go in nice and closely there on the scutes. Now, that's what we call those sort of blocks there on the shell itself. Those are scutes. If you look at those scutes, you can see the ridges. If you count those ridges, very similar to that of rings on a tree. If you cut a tree down and you look at the rings, you can actually age it. So I'm just looking on the screen here. It's quite difficult to do just on the screen without being right next to it, but you can actually age them by counting the little ridges on the scute. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I would say this small one at the back is ranging between 12 and 15 years old. So the one in the front, I would say, is probably between 15 and 18 years old, at least. But quite interesting that you can age them by those rings on the scute, quite similar to that of fish as well. If you look at the scales of fish, very similar to the scutes of a tortoise, and you can age them in exactly the same way. Take a scale and you will see the little rings almost identical to the scutes of a tortoise, and you will be able to age the fish. Now, these are quite small specimens if you look at how big leopards can grow, and already these two are in their middle to later teens. And the one in front definitely looking like a female, and I think the one at the back is a male indeed. And that's just because of that little tail section. It's obviously making it available for the male to be able to mate. Now, the one on the back, yes, underneath you can see there is a little bit of a sort of indent where he would be able to climb up on the female. Question from Philip: Would a male mount another male as a sign of dominance? I haven't seen them mounting each other. What they do, however, is they bash into each other with their shells, and the idea being to actually knock the other one upside down and leaving him to possibly be exposed upside down, not being able to return himself, and in such way actually kill him. So I haven't seen them mount each other. They do have that indent to enable them to be able to mount the female's shell itself to make it a little bit easier. I'm just going to reposition for VM to be able to view those tortoises. Now, the reason we do have our roof still on, as I said, is because there is still a real possibility of rain. Noel took a bit of a gamble. I'm not a gambling man myself. Maybe it won't pay off, maybe it will, but I'd rather be out with the roof on. Anyway, there does seem to be a hot chase going on here between these two tortoises. The one in front is looking to be definitely like a female. But I love to watch tortoises moving around. Now, down in the Eastern Cape, where I'm from, they get 3 to 4 times that size in general. Obviously, these ones can get that big, but on average in the Eastern Cape, we have the largest tortoises in Southern Africa, and there you see them 3 or 4 times the size of these individuals that are moving off here, and they get about 80 kilograms. They can live over 100 years, and the chelonia, or the shield reptiles, one of the oldest reptiles still living on the planet. Okay, since we've spotted those leopard tortoises, I think it's a good sign. I think it's a lucky sign. We're going to start moving off, and we're going to look for their namesake, but the big cats. And Jamie up in the Mara has got something a little bit more horned to show you.
Oh, we found ourselves a rhinoceros in the search for the dog. So not what I was looking for, but it was the direction that the dog was running in. So I figured sitting still might be just as productive as moving about, and since there's a rhino here, I would love to show it to you. Hey, you. Marching about. Of course, it's nice and cool and getting towards evening time, which is when the rhino are at their most active. They are essentially crepuscular. They spend most of the morning and the evening wandering about and feeding. They do also move around a lot at night. They often go to waterholes after dark. So there is a nocturnal aspect to their behavior as well. And this was actually what the two rangers were looking for. They knew where it was roughly. And that was why they were in the area that they were in, because they're actually dedicated to keeping an eye on the Mara's rhino. Shall we go see if we can get a little bit close to it? It might take us some time to get around. Oh, it's popping out and going away, but I see the road heads in that direction. And again, it's the direction that the dog was heading in. So it could... Ooh, that's bush. I've got paranoia now, looking all around me. Now let's catch up with it quickly, because we should get a really nice view. Looked like a male from the way that it was urinating earlier. It's difficult to tell with size, especially at distance, whether you're looking at a male or a female rhino. But I think in this case, judging by the backwards direction of the urine, it was a male. There we go, I can see him up ahead. I wonder how close he'll let us come. I saw him earlier actually, I did know he was here, but that was during the more frantic search. Oh, hold on everyone. So the rangers know I'm in this direction keeping watch as well. So they have moved, we're all sort of rotating around each other to look for it. Hello. Okay. Can see your head up. I know you're listening to me. That's alright, you know what vehicles sound like. If we keep going on the line that we're in, we're going to be right up close to it, which should be wonderful and rare. Not often we get to experience that. Nice and slow. Let's just gauge his reaction very carefully. I don't want to frighten him. But there are black rhino that are completely comfortable. Hello, Billy, who is 5 years old. Hello and welcome. Now, Billy wants to know how old rhinos can get to. They can live up to 40 years old, Billy, so they can actually get quite old. 40 years. Between 30 and 40 years. Hello, my boy. No. No. Okay, as soon as he backs down, I'm going to back off, because he is going to definitely thinking about giving us a charge. Hello, boy. Don't do it. So I'm talking because his eyesight's bad. No, don't be full of nonsense. Okay, my boy. Alright. Definitely a male. Okay. Alright. As soon as he moves backwards, I'm going to move backwards as well. Okay. Because as soon as I start the engine, there's a chance he's going to want to come straight at the sound. Okay. Okay, my boy. Alright. You've heard people before. See, I'm a person. Hey, you myopic creature. Okay. There we go, my boy. Here we go. Alright. Yeah. It's okay. So this is indecisive still. I've seen rhino do this. They turn around and then they come back again. So we're just going to sit nice and still. Okay, boy. Hey! Which way is the wind blowing? It's barely blowing. So what he's probably going to try and do is get downwind of us. So he might circle us a little bit. Just hold on a moment. Let's just wait and see what he does. Because, yes, there he is. He's coming round us. That's what black rhino often do. So he's going to try a circle. Hello, boy. Okay, he's calmed down a lot. There we go. So in a situation like that, obviously I don't want to frighten him, but he's now relaxed again, and I could cause more potential fear by racing or revving away from him. And also, quite honestly, just like an elephant, he'll learn that it's a fun game, and he can chase cars away. Now, all I wanted to do was talk to him now. As soon as he gets at a comfortable distance where I can turn the engine on, then I'm going to move away from him. Hey, mister, although he's doing it all by himself, quite calm and relaxed now. He's still turning his head back towards the sound of my voice, but he's just moving off. Sorry, boy. Didn't mean to give you a fright. Okay. And off he goes. So I've had black rhino encounters where they are as comfortable with a vehicle as a cow. So they can be entirely relaxed. And already he's relaxed again in our company. So I'm going to move off, give him his space, carry on the search for the dog. Let's head across to Brent, who really truly is having an afternoon for the scavengers.
Well, this is very exciting. I'm just very sad this thing didn't appear yesterday. This is definitely a new bird for everyone's Mara lists. And Jahawi and I were shocked when we saw it take off. It's a bit lost. They're not supposed to occur here. But it is a juvenile palm nut vulture. Isn't that exciting? That is definitely a first for me in the Mara. We saw quite a lot of them while we were in Uganda. But I didn't think they occurred here, and I checked my map and they don't. But there we go. That is a lovely record of a palm nut vulture in the Masai Mara. I'm going to have to speak to my birding friends to see how many of them have seen palm nut vulture in the Masai Mara. I think a few of them are going to be a little bit jealous. Isn't that exciting? Can see the very distinct beak. So palm nut vultures are quite interesting. They do a lot of competing with fish eagles normally around the big river systems and lakes, and they will steal a lot of food from fish eagles, chase them off the fish that the fish eagles have caught. Now, of course, they get their name, the palm nut vulture, is because during or when the raffia palms and start fruiting, they are very, very fond of eating the palm fruit. That is so exciting. Palm nut vulture. That is a really big bird for the Mara. So, yay. But a more common bird for the Mara, but looking quite nice and puffed up after getting a bit wet. Not its normal call. Hopefully it does its normal call shortly. And there's a white-browed cuckoo, the rain bird. Let's hope it does its nice warbling call. And you can see the midges that are exploding out after the rain, buzzing around the cuckoo. Okay, now we've got a lovely little vantage point down to the Mara River up ahead here, so let's go have a look. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to definitely come back through here tomorrow, because sometimes during big storms, juvenile palm nut vultures get blown around and appear in areas where you don't expect them, and they can actually hang around. So I will definitely come past here tomorrow morning, and I'll hope that we'll be able to get a bit of a better view of him and maybe some better light, or her at the moment, because it's quite far away, but they can hang around. So I'll show you their distribution when I stop after going through the muddy bits here. Once we get to the edge of the magnificent Mara River. Lara Moore would like to know, does that vulture have a less bald head than the other vultures? Indeed it does. Okay, so while we wait here, I'll show you a little bit better with it. So as I was saying, it's distribution. There we go. So we are up here somewhere, just up there. So you can see it's not traditionally occurring in this area at all. When we were on the other side, during our holiday, we saw quite a few palm nut vultures, but not on this side. So it's a really nice find for this area. And if we have a look at, there we go. So it doesn't have a bald head at all. So I think we had a juvenile one that was in between changing from juvenile to adult colors. So that there's the juvenile there. And you can see the bald bare around the eye, and a very distinct bill. That's what they look like when they fly. They're very pretty birds when they're flying. They're adult. I just swallowed a midge, sorry. There we go. Aaron from New Zealand says Egyptian vulture next. I would be very excited to see an Egyptian vulture. It is one of my nemesis birds. I have not seen it. I'll find you a picture of an Egyptian vulture. Now, I've been in places where people have seen them just before, in the Serengeti, and, let's see, I can't spell today. There we go. That's the Egyptian vulture there. So it's one of the rarest of the vulture species. Now, also one of the only birds that's very clever. What they'll do is they'll take bones and they'll fly really high and then drop them onto the rocks to open up to get to the marrow. So quite an intelligent vulture, and you can see, I'll just pop there. They might be here. They can be here, but it's very, very rare to see them in this part. They're much more common up towards northern Kenya and into Ethiopia. Now, we have some hippopotamus, but before we go to them, we have some spur-wing lapwings up on the little sandbank there. No crocs today. Here we go. Hello, lapwings. And let's just move around the corner a little bit so we can get a better view of those hippopotami. Oh, one got a fright. It was just below us. I don't think it realized. Oh, the male's giving some threat displays. Opened his mouth. Oh no, there's a bit of an argument going on. But they got a bit of a fright. Sorry, hippos. There we go. Calm down. It's all okay now. But these two seem to not be getting on too well back. There we go. What's going on? No, I thought they might have a little bit of an argument. Now, Joe, if we just look at that wake with that hippos up there. Now, I can tell you from being on small boats in rivers like this all over Africa, when you see a wake like that coming through you, you really, really do get a bit worried. And I've been in a few boats that have been actually hit by hippos. Fortunately, we didn't capsize, or they didn't put a hole through the hippo, or through the boat. One hippo, however, got a very big headache because he decided he was very strong and he attacked a stainless steel barge and came off second best with a headache, I'm sure. Okay, while we sit here and enjoy the view of the magnificent, murderous Mara River, let's go to Noel, who's doing some birding.
So super jealous of Brent's palm-nut vulture. Very, very, very cool. I haven't seen one in a few months, and the last one I saw was up in Zambia. But we do have a bird for you here. We've got a red-crested coron. Unfortunately, this coron has injured itself. So we came up and it was sort of hobbling away, and you can actually see that how it's holding its one leg up. So it's either going to sort itself out or unfortunately become food. So it's not necessarily the nicest thing to talk about, but it is something to talk about in terms of everything functions within the ecosystem to perform its role, and then after it's finished its role, it then becomes food. Its body then goes into becoming the nutrients in the soil, or it physically becomes food. So this little coron, I think, is deciding whether or not to keep trying to move with us here, but it's also keeping an eye on all these little winged alights that are flying about, and it's amazing how close it is because we really are getting some nice shots with the detail around the eye, and you can see the textures of the feathers along the head. And a nice good look. I've been busy over the years taking photos of birds to put into a slideshow just for myself, like a bird catalog. So if there's any viewers out there who are as keen as I am for something like that, this would be a good one to do, maybe there with a little bit of a screenshot, just to add into your birding, what shall we call it, encyclopedia. Now, we had our birding big day yesterday, and there was a few people that were asking what apps can I tick off. The apps that I personally use, and I know several of my friends uses the Roberts Bird app, but also you can make your own from the show, and do a PowerPoint like what I do to keep my knowledge going. Oh, shame, buddy. So that's a thought there. Curse is saying you had a lapwing with a sore foot this morning as well. Maybe it's sore foot bird day. Shame, these poor guys. It happens though when you've got such slender legs and you're running about as quickly as these birds do, especially these birds that do fly a bit but dwell on the ground, you are going to twist a foot every now and then. So with that bird app I was talking about, I know Tristan plays a lot of bird calls for you. I think Brent also likes to play bird calls for everybody, so the calls are also on there. So that's also something you can download and put on your PowerPoint. But if you feel like a project, that might be a good project. You can do it with flowers, because we're coming into flowering season. You can do it with the birds. You can do it with trees that we do. I've also got a flower PowerPoint going, and ooh, get it! Almost. No, not quite. Shame, buddy. Okay, well, yeah, I feel sad for him as well. But again, everything happens for a reason, and it'll either sort itself out or it won't. And you can see it still is able to get around. It's not completely out of commission. But we will leave you be, our little feathered friend. Maybe it's just a little bit of a sprain. David, you're saying maybe we should take it to the vet. So with the wild animals, again, everything happens for a reason, and it's very important to let wild animals be wild. Also, the utilization of resources for something like that, those resources are most likely better spent somewhere else. And it's heart-wrenching and it's difficult, but you kind of have to let things be. When we as humans interfere too much in the bush, it can sometimes have consequences that we didn't necessarily foresee. So as sad as it is, it's all right. What will happen, and it will either sort itself out or it becomes food for something else that also needs to carry on and live. Ooh, I think Ralph has some crickets. Let's head over to him.
Alrighty, folks, we just we're doing a little bit of 4x4ing, and we came to a little pan, and we had a little Jacobin's cuckoo that we were watching right there as he's flown off, as birds like to do as soon as we put the camera on them. Very similar to that of giraffe, they like to move off. But we're moving through the thick stuff here. We were trying to follow up on where the elephants had been sighted, near to one of the pans in the area. Seems they've shifted off slightly, so we've just been going through the thickets, and we're just going to move a little bit forward. I've just seen some squirrels running around in front, and we're going to have a look there. But I like coming on these lesser used tracks sometimes. You never know what you're going to find. And it's nice to go on a little bit of a feeling of discovery. I can hear that Jacobin's cuckoo calling now. There's just a ringneck dove drinking here. I don't know if VM can spot it over there. There he is. And something quite interesting. Watch what he does. You see, he's actually able to drink straight. Now, not all birds have got a gullet. Now watch, you see there, he's drinking straight. It's very similar to that of a Kori bustard, where they don't have to bring their head up to swallow back. So they're actually able to swallow with their head down. Not all birds are able to do that. So that's something quite special with the doves and the bustard, the Kori bustard in particular. I'm not quite sure if all the bustards can do that. I know the Kori bustard in particular can, but the doves can do that as well. So, and I'm sure you've seen it, especially a very common one that you very see is like ducks. If they drink, they take a couple of mouthfuls and they have to literally lift their head up and then swallow. That's because they don't have a gullet. But the doves and the bustards do. Okay. While we're watching this, and while I'm carrying on through the thickets, up in the Mara, Jamie's got a lovely lion pride for you.